Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Happy Monday. I hope you guys have had an amazing weekend, and I hope the start of your week is also off to a great start. Let me be one of the first to wish you a very Merry Christmas. I hope you guys enjoy it, the time off with your loved ones, with your family, with your friends, and hey, just take time to kind of reflect and be grateful. That's what Christmas is all about. Welcome to another episode of Monday Evening Quarterback. My name is Christian Simpson, and I am the creator, I am the founder, I am the NFL and college football analyst. I'm a blogger, I'm a radio contributor for quite a few shows. Promote those at the end of the show. And I'm just an overall fan of the sport. Like, I'm a junkie. And I started a brand called the Daily Blitz, where we specialize in all things football 24/7, 365. Um, Keep up with us. The website is thedailyblitz.blog. Enter your email address and become a subscriber today. And anything that gets shared to the site will get sent to your inbox. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you for tuning in. If you took a referral from somebody, I want to thank that person for referring you, and I want to thank you for taking a referral, and I hope you can enjoy the show. And if you've been tuning in from the get-go, look, we've been doing this for a while now, for quite a few years. Thank you, as always. Got another jam-packed show. The college football playoff took place. The first round is officially in the books. We're going to talk about that. Going to look ahead to the second round of the college football playoff. And then we're going to talk about what caught our eye in week 16 of the NFL. TJ Hopkins will join me a little later on. But with that being said, let's look at college football playoff. But even before that, since I've been gone, quite a few things have happened. Obviously, everything that happened with Sharon Moore in Michigan. You just never really know what's going on behind closed doors, and he really had the opportunity of a lifetime. I really don't know where Michigan goes from here. I heard Michigan, they're really wanting Kalen DeBoer from Alabama, but I just don't see him up and leaving. He's got a good thing brewing up in Tuscaloosa. Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman. Shocker, right? He was by far the best player in college football. I was joking around with Ronnie, because he's been a very heavy advocate for Diego Pavia. I asked him what was Diego's Heisman moment, and I'm still waiting on a response, meaning I ain't got one. But yeah, the first round of the college football playoff. Second year, we have a 12-team bracket going on. It started on Friday night. Alabama Crimson Tide, Oklahoma Sooners in Norman. Last two times these two have played, Oklahoma's come out on top. And when they last played, it was November 15th. It was in Tuscaloosa, and Oklahoma's offense didn't look the greatest, but Alabama hurt themselves. They turned the ball over 3 times, and Oklahoma turned those 3 turnovers into 17 points, and they leave Tuscaloosa with a 23-21 victory. What was in store for the rematch? Now listen, it's tough to beat a team twice in the same season. I mean, we saw last week in the NFL, Buffalo getting their revenge on New England. Remember, New England beat Buffalo earlier in the year. Prior to this game, the last time we saw Alabama, it was in the SEC championship against the Georgia Bulldogs, and it just looked terrible. Plus, there was no Jam Miller. Jam was back for the game in Norman on Friday night. And, I mean, he makes their offense go. Both these teams are kind of similar from a defensive standpoint, but I'll be honest, I hadn't liked what I had really been seeing from the Oklahoma offense. You know, the defense is going to do all they can, but their offense, yeah. And, you know, between Ty Simpson and John Mateer, I kind of like Ty a little more. I just think he's a little more reliable, and when you need him to make a throw, he could do that. For a second, it seemed like Oklahoma was going to run away with this. You know, they jump out to a 10-0 lead in the first quarter, but then I got to give Alabama credit. Kalen DeBoer and company, they simply adjusted. To me, what saved Alabama was Latzia Brooks catching that touchdown on fourth down. Because if he doesn't make that play, who knows what happens right then and there. Jam Miller, like I said, did come back, but was really a non-factor. Only had 7 carries for 11 yards. Daniel Hill was the leading rusher, 9 carries, 43 yards. As a team, Alabama couldn't get the running game going. 25 carries, 28 yards. The one thing I noticed about Alabama's defense, they were struggling to get home, but they adjusted to that too. And then the turning point of the game was the interception that John Mateer threw. You know, Xavier Brown kind of disguised his look and had his eye on John. Jumped the route, caught the ball, took it to the house for 6, and from there, it was just all Alabama at that point. Alabama did win this game, 34-24. Ty Simpson, 18 of 29, 232 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. John Mateer on the other side, 26 of 41, 307 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Deion Burks, he was actually my X factor coming into this game. 7 receptions, 107 yards, and 1 touchdown. Yeah, Alabama, they entered this one with a chip on their shoulder. There's really no doubts about that. Yeah, this is a gritty win for Alabama. They advance. Remember, a lot of teams felt they shouldn't be there, so I think they probably heard that and took it personally. So now, Alabama plays the number 1 seed in this entire tourney, the Indiana Hoosiers, and that's going to be a collision course. And I believe this is going to be the first meeting between each other as well. Excuse me. Game 2. So the other 3 games were played on Saturday. Miami, Texas A&M. This is the one I was looking forward to. You know, 2 teams that are kind of similar to one another. Both have solid running backs. You know, Texas A&M has Le'Veon Moss. They also have, you know, because I'm losing his name, Reuben Owens. It was a really interesting quarterback matchup. Marcel Reed on one side, Carson Beck on the other. And, you know, you had 2 receiver duos that I feel don't really get their credit. For Miami, it's KJ Daniels and it's Malachi Toney. And Texas A&M has KC Concepcion and Mario Craver. coming into the game, you're thinking this was going to be very high scoring, but this was a defensive struggle, and believe me, I loved every single second of it. Now, I was explaining to my mother the other day, football is such an offensive game. Everybody wants to see the fireworks. Everybody wants to see the ball being thrown all over the field. But when you have a defensive struggle like this, it goes to show you that the art of defense is not lost within the sport. And excuse me. Yeah, both these teams were punching each other in the mouth. There were a lot of special teams miscues. I know. I look at, Miami's. Miami. Carter Davis. He missed 3 field goals. That's leaving points on the table. Neither offense could really get it going. You knew it was going to come down to who could make one more play, and Miami did just that. Mark Fletcher really put this team on his back. 17 carries, 172 yards, averaged nearly 10 yards a run. And Malachi Toney caught the lone touchdown for Miami. Miami did win this game 10-3. Not a good day at the office for Marcel Reed. 25 of 39, 237 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was also the leading rusher. From 1 to 11, Miami was just more man and more physical than Texas A&M, and I'll just come right out and say it. I truly believe that this is the best win for Mario Cristobal since becoming the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes. Yeah, that's saying something, but, a lot of people thought no one from the ACC should have made it, but Miami thought they should have. And remember, there was a time when I was calling them the best team in the nation. But here we are. They win their first playoff game, and they advance. Don't really have to say much about the other 2 games, but I already know a lot of people are gonna say, oh well, the smaller schools shouldn't make it. Tulane's really struggled against Ole Miss. This was Ole Miss' first game since Lane Kiffin left for Baton Rouge to become the LSU head coach. Trinidad Chambliss, what a day. 23 of 29, 282 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Keywan Lacey, 15 carries, 87 yards, 1 touchdown. As a team, Ole Miss ran the ball 151 yards on 34 carries. It was just too much Ole Miss for Tulane. They win a rematch, 41-10, and Oregon hosted their first home college football playoff game against James Madison. And, James Madison put some points up. 34 to be exact. Oregon did win this game, 51-34. Dante Moore, 19 of 27, 313 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions. And Alonzo Barnett, the third for James Madison, 23 of 48, 273 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks. They put some points up, but at the end of the day, it was just too much Oregon for James Madison. So now I want to look ahead to the next round, because I truly feel that there's not a bad game in the second round. So it starts on New Year's Eve. Miami, Ohio State, at Jerry World. At least the playoff game will be there, even if the Cowboys aren't in it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. two really good quarterbacks, Carson Beck, Julian Sand. The last time we saw Ohio State, they were getting kicked in the teeth, courtesy of the number one team in the nation, the Indiana Hoosiers. This could be another defensive struggle. We already know what Ohio State is capable of doing, but when Miami wants to man up and they want to be physical, they can. I mean, we saw that in College Station the other day. Yeah, I like the weapons for both teams in this game. You know, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, Elijah Lofton, Malachi Tony, CJ Daniels, Mark Fletcher, Bo Jackson. Yeah, so there's a lot of talent in this game. Two very well-coached football teams, and we get a rematch of that epic national championship game from 2002. So, yeah, that should be fun. Then on New Year's Day, Oregon will face Texas Tech in Miami. I can see the ball flying around in that one. Another interesting quarterback matchup with Dante Moore on one side and Baron Morton on the other. You know, I think the rest of the world is going to see what, you know, who Baron Morton is and who this Texas Tech team is. Yeah, I could see a shootout, but the thing about both these teams, they're kind of similar in a way because they can slow games down, they can run the football, and they can play a punishing style of defense. You know, I think the one that everyone is probably looking forward to the most, Alabama, Indiana, Fernando Mendoza facing this Alabama team. You know, this Alabama defense, they adjusted really well against Oklahoma. You know, Indiana won the Big Ten championship game in a game that I don't think anybody gave them a snowball's chance to win. This is either going to be that dogfight or this is going to be a shootout. It's Indiana, they're physical offensively. They're physical on defense. I think this is the most complete team remaining in this entire 20. And looking at the final game, another rematch, regular season, Ole Miss, Georgia. When these two last played, Ole Miss dominated Georgia for 3 quarters. Then Georgia really put the clamps down in the 4th quarter. I could see this being another high-scoring game like it was during the regular season. So I want to know from you, what game are you looking forward to? Because really, there's not a bad storyline for any of these matchups. So I want to hear from you what you think. And with that being said, that is the first half of Monday Evening Quarterback. When I get back, TJ Hopkins is going to be with me. We're going to talk about a lot of things that caught our eye in the NFL. I know TJ is going to have a lot to say, as he always does. This is Monday Evening Quarterback on YouTube. I'll be back.